Spectrum News at 12. I am Uyaya and I can come to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari says Nigeria's investment in security yielding positive results. Governor Dom Emmanuel commends past leaders, lists his government's achievement as Akwa Ibom celebrates 35th anniversary. Plus, Marlego Special Master orders Trump team to back up any claims of FBI planting evidence. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in a moment. Buhari has told foreign investors in New York that Nigeria's economy was ripe for increased investment. This was as he lamented the reduced private capital inflows, especially foreign direct investment for infrastructure and natural resource access projects. The president, who was represented at the opening session of the Nigeria International, Ibrahim Gambari, noted that Nigeria would require an investment commitment of about 348 trillion naira by 2025. Buhari, who noted that the quarterly GDP growth in Q1 2022 had been mostly driven by the non-oil sector, that the federal government was taking some bold, decisive and urgent action to address revenue underperformance and improve Nigeria's operations to make it an investment-friendly destination.
A watershed moment, transformative solution to interlocking challenges, is apt in keeping with our obligation as member states of this noble organization. Will almost do our utmost and resolve cooperation. Let me convey my final reflection from this famous podium. We live in extraordinary times with independent challenges but enormous opportunities. The face of change can seem bewildering, with sometimes a palpable and unsettling sense of uncertainty about our future, but that endure. These include, but not limited to, such values as justice, honor, integrity.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed happiness that the present administration's investment in improving security were yielding good dividends across the country. Speaking at the pledge that the federal government would do more to improve security, recognizing that the sector was another critical element in the flow of investment and overall economic and infrastructural development. The president, who was represented at the opening session by his chief of staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, also declared that in spite of the global crisis, field was to taking her rightful place in the global economy, adding that the advantages and disadvantages of investing in Nigeria far outweigh the challenges. Buhari, however, lauded the Nigerian military for making significant progress in the fight against insecurity and building the momentum in reducing challenges to its barest minimum, and pledged that his government would do more to improve security. In the meantime, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has frowned at developed nations of the world, particularly the European countries, for their decision to force their financial institutions to stop funding of gas development projects, describing such decision as faulty. Osinbajo also described as double standards the return of European nations to coal-fired power generation plants through 2023 and beyond, noting that was in in violation of the continent's climate commitment. The Vice President made the assertions in Lagos while delivering a keynote speech on Nigeria's transition to green energy at the 60th anniversary of the Oil Producers Trade Section OPTS, a group under the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry LCCI. According to him, countries in the developing world were faced with two crises, listing climate change and extreme poverty as the two challenges confronting them. Sibaja said the cause and consequence for deepening poverty. He said most countries, including Nigeria, have agreed on the need to reduce global emissions to zero, and Nigeria had even fixed its target by 2060, adding that Nigeria and Africa were major victims of the effects of climate change. We move now to the legislature. The upper chamber will introduce a property tax on unoccupied buildings and outrageously expensive buildings within the capital city. Adeyemi, who made this known at a press briefing with members of the committee, lamented that there were too many unoccupied buildings in the city, and putting legislation in place was one of the ways to stop the problem and also make the issue of accommodation less to economic development of the city and improve the security of the city. Adeyemi said that their work was to call the attention of the executive to certain areas of need, and one of such was to solve the issue of accommodation and housing deficit in the state. Meanwhile, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila has invited the Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige and several others to appear before the lawmakers on Thursday next week. Gbajabiamila, who said this at the resumed fact-finding meeting on the strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, also invited the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemiesa, the Accountant General of the Federation, Director General Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, the Director General Idris Wase, and other leaders of the House have met with the Head of Service of the Federation, HOS, the Chairman of the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Ekponta, among other government officials. The meeting was a sequel to an earlier one the Speaker held with ASU officials on Tuesday, where issues related to the strike were discussed. In the judiciary, Muslim rights concern Murik has urged the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN Olukayode Oriwola, to address a petition written against a prospective judge of the High Court in Niger State. The Islamic group disclosed this in a statement by its director, Professor Aishak Akintola, today, demanding a quick consideration of the petition to determine whether or not it has merit. Recall that a petition dated 17th March 2022 and signed by one Ibrahim Shehu, a Nigerian citizen, against a prospective High Court judge of Niger State was submitted to the Office of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, and Chairman National Judicial Council, NJC. According to Murik's statement, Ibrahim Shehu, the petitioner, said their applicant claimed to have been born on the 4th of April 1964, but he was actually born on the 4th of April 1962, based on what he submitted to the Nigerian Law School. The petitioner therefore requested the NJC to thoroughly investigate the applicant and act accordingly. Away from that, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has said that public funds are being diverted through the ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government. Chairman of the ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owansoye, who raised the alarm in Abuja at a two-day capacity building workshop organized for members of the House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption, frowned at the diversion of public funds both in revenue receipt and expenditure. He condemned illicit financial flow, misapplication of funds and budget padding. Owansoye noted that Nigeria always had anti-corruption laws but were in short supply of integrity. According to him, this had been made worse by a high-level hypocrisy seen in public and private services. The ICPC boss warned that if citizens do not deal with corruption-related issues, it would further impact negatively on the country. In another development, the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, has said Nigeria needs help in tackling its debt burden. At the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum in New York, Adesina said financing is critical because the debt to GDP ratio of Africa has increased to 70%, noting that several countries are at risk of high debt distress due to unstable and unsustainable debt levels. Adesina also said Nigeria's growth will be conditioned on its ability to fix its massive infrastructure deficit, noting that Nigeria's total debt level is 42.84 trillion naira, about $103 billion, while external debt levels stand at 16.61 trillion naira, about $40 billion. He added that the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan showed Nigeria would need a total financing of $759 billion up until 2043. In a separate development, a new permanent secretary, Dr. Ifeoma Anyetaun, has assumed office in the Police Service Commission (PSC). Until her deployment to the commission, Anyanwu Taku was the permanent secretary in the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. She took over from Anyete Donald Etiebet, who was the director overseeing the office of the permanent secretary. The new PSC permanent secretary has promised to ensure a cordial working relationship between the commission and the Nigeria Police Force (NPF), saying the nation does not need any distraction when all hands should be on deck to surmount the prevailing security problems. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Dom Emmanuel says the creation of Akwa Ibom State 35 years ago was a grand fulfillment of the dreams of the founding fathers of the area. Got been transformed from a civil service state with nondescript infrastructures to a state with one of the best facilities in all sectors. Governor Emmanuel thanked former military president General Ibrahim Babangida for hearkening to the agitations of the people by creating Akwa Ibom State. Governor Emmanuel said his administration has rewritten the Akwa Ibom story across all sectors in all parts of the who have elected to demonize the achievement of his administration because of his judicious management of scarce state resources, noting that he will not play politics with the development of the state. The governor charged the people of the state, especially the youth, to resist any attempt by any individual to use them as instrument of division, but should rather be played without bitterness.
Or be propelled by the fannings of groupthink. Societies are not built and improved by doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results and enduring value. Societies are built and improved by doing things that work and have the most corresponding effects on the overall development of the people, short and long-term sustainable growth. Developed societies were not built through the impulses of immediate gratifications. Those societies were built by leaders who saw beyond the immediate, leaders who did not dance to the rhythm of what we may have been popular, that the future will vindicate their vision and thrive. From the Abraham Lincolns to Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, to the Mandelas, these were leaders who took decisive actions that may not have been overly celebrated when they took them, but today have turned the countries they once led to oases of prosperity, development, wealth, and peace. Those societies were built because the leaders galvanized the people around a set of values. We can be better than where we were, and the people responded to the clarion call. That's what we have done through the Dakada philosophy. And the attitudinal and mind shift today is bearing fruit. Akwa Ibom is rising, and our people are rising too. The faith of, say, the industries we have attracted to the state. The Syringes Manufacturing Company, which is the largest and has been celebrated all over the nation and the African continent does not exist. When the flour mill we have established, which is the most automated in the nation, does not exist. When the question
yesterday inaugurated the 9.5 kilometers ring road 3 road project initiated and completed by the Governor Dom Emmanuel administration. Speaking during the event, Abubakar commended Governor Emmanuel for such an uncommon feat and his industrialization drive. He equally appreciated him for the achievements recorded so far by his government in the state despite the dwindling economy. Our government house correspondent completes the report.
Today, we are again part of a ring. I commend you and the people of Akwa Ibom. As you celebrate 35 years, it is a great honor to be part of it. I congratulate you. I am not surprised for you on your performance.
We are grateful for the life of the governor, for his foresight, for all that he has been doing, making Akwa Ibom the hub for aviation, the hub for health, the hub for infrastructure, and above all, what has, not to talk of the industrialization that he is doing. So, with this, I want to congratulate the Akwa Ibom people, your governor, for this landmark project.
Thank you very much.
We move now to Africa, where Malian authorities held a traditional military parade yesterday to mark the country's Independence Day in the presence of the head of Guinea's military junta, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, while West African leaders were meeting in New York to attend the UN General Assembly on the sideline. A summary of the meeting says that the leaders agreed on gradual sanctions on a list of people linked to the Guinean junta who will be identified very soon by the bloc's leadership. Recall that the West Africa bloc has been struggling with a string of military coups in the region in the past 2 years. Mali underwent coups in August of 2020. On the foreign scene, the special master overseeing the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation has ordered former President Donald Trump's lawyers to back up out-of-court assertions that the FBI may have planted evidence at the property during their search last month. Judge Raymond Dieri, the court-appointed special master, said in a filing that Trump's team needs to submit a sworn declaration if they believe the Justice Department included any items on their inventory of materials taken from the Mar-a-Lago that were not actually seized during the search. Dieri wrote in the order that the declaration must include a list of any specific on the 8th of August 2022. This has come up as an issue in the case because Trump himself, some of his attorneys, and several of his outside Republican allies have publicly claimed that the FBI planted evidence at the Mar-a-Lago during the August 8th search. However, they have offered no evidence to support these accusations. Still to come in the news. Iwobi nominated for EPL award. To stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In the business news, the World Bank Group has warned Nigeria as well as other may trigger a global recession and a string of financial crises. In its new study titled Risk of Global Recession in 2023 Rises Amid Simultaneous Rate Hikes, the Washington-based bank said the currently expected trajectory of interest rate increases and other policy actions might not be sufficient to bring a global inflation back down to levels seen before the pandemic. Recall that central banks around the world have been raising interest rates this year with a degree of synchronity not seen over the past 5 decades, a trend that is likely to continue well into next year, according to the report. According to the report, unless supply disruptions and labor market pressures subsided, those interest rate increases could leave the global core inflation rate, excluding energy, at about 5% in 2023, nearly double the 5-year average before the pandemic, the study found. Meanwhile, the Nigerian recently affected farming activities and drastically reduced ability to locally produce raw materials for manufacturing purposes. The association also said Nigeria's inflation statistics might be incorrectly underestimated considering the primary research on the price of essential foods, transportation and household goods. According to a statement by the association, the increase in inflation could be linked to several factors, including the high cost of raw materials, devaluation and the disruption of supply chain caused by insecurity, among others. In health, the World Health Organization has revealed that globally non-communicable diseases, NCDs, such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes and lung disease now exceed infectious diseases as the top killers. The WHO stated that NCDs cause nearly 3/4 of deaths worldwide, noting that every 2 seconds someone under the age of 70 somewhere in the world dies of an NCD. In a bid to tackle the burden of non-communicable diseases, the Director General of WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, has launched a report urging leaders worldwide to take urgent action on NCDs, responsible for 17 million untimely deaths yearly. He also announced the reappointment of the WHO Global Ambassador for Non-Communicable Diseases and Injury, NCDs, and their risk factors such as tobacco use, alcohol consumption, unhealthy diet, and lack of exercise is low. Still in health, the Association of Fertility and Reproductive Health, AFRH, has said it will address topical issues relating to fertility at its 12th annual international conference. According to a statement released by the AFRH, the conference slated for September 22nd and 23rd in Lagos will also help address factors responsible for the highest level of infertility. AFRH added that the conference would also beam light on how to improve fertility services, how to reduce the cost of treatment, and how to handle ultrasound services, amongst other issues. In sports, Super Eagles striker Alex Iwobi and his teammate at Everton, Jordan Pickford, have been rewarded for their impressive Everton displays by being nominated for Premier League awards for September. The Nigeria international is in the running for EA Player of the Month as he continues to thrive for the Blues under manager Frank Lampard. Catching the eye in a deeper central midfield role, Iwobi is on the shortlist for September's award along with Bournemouth midfielder Philip Billing, Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne, Spurs' Pierre-Emile Herbert. Still in sports, Frank Warren, Tyson Fury's promoter, says the deal for the Gypsy King to sign Anthony Joshua on December 3rd has not yet been signed, but remains optimistic about it taking place. Eddie Hearn from Aegis Matchroom Boxing confirmed the contract had arrived, but there were a few things to sort out. Hence, progress has stalled since Warren's team sent the paperwork last week. The 32-year-old's camp are currently reviewing Warren's paperwork, and the 70-year-old promoter believes it will be signed. Reports say the main crux of the negotiations are the splits, which are agreed 60-40 in favor of the WBC heavyweight world champion, although there's a rematch clause which is agreed 50-50. On our entertainment news, a constellation of Nollywood stars led by Kanayo, Sola Sobowale and Yinka Kwadire are currently on the set of an upcoming film titled Double Decoy. The film's director and producer Nnamdi Odunze noted that the film is multi-million-dollar international cinema film production that will set a fresh pace in Nollywood. Odunze also disclosed that Double Decoy features Tony Akpor-Sherry, Sonny McDonald, Ayo Emmanuel Ndi Amoagu, Ronke Adusanya, and others. Meanwhile, Bolanle Austin Peters, man of God, is leading Nigerians. Osas Igodaro follows South Africa's feature film Surviving Gaza, and Ghana's Boga that lead the awards nomination with 14 nominations each, as the two films got nominated in 14 different categories out of the AMA's 26 categories. Other Nigerian films topping the nominations include Jolly Roger, with nominations in 8 different categories, and Kunla Folayon's Swallow, which earned itself nominations in 7 categories. The event, which had the founder and CEO of AMA, Piz Anyami Osigwe, in attendance, was held in the Radisson Hotel in Ikeja, Lagos. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. I am Uyaya Nick, and thanks for watching, and do enjoy the rest of your day.